to A Woman's Voice, Empowerment Radio, where your voice is heard. Featuring your host, Christy Lee Tritz, international best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and women's empowerment coach. Christy Lee supports women to no longer live in silence, to find their voices and to have those voices heard, to create change. Christy Lee's guests will inspire you, empower you, and show you how to overcome obstacles in your life. Guests will be sharing their stories of survival, how they moved through addiction, going from fear to empowerment, and how they came from silence to sharing their voices and being heard. Christy Lee will also be showcasing professionals who will give you powerful tools to move from where you are to where you want to be. Get ready to be encouraged and inspired. And now, here is your host, Christy Lee Tritz.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the show today. I wanted to start the show off today by sharing with you a cute little story about one of my Goldilocks and the three polar bear readers. The little boy's mom writes, I ordered this book for my son. I love reading stories to him, and I'm always looking for new ones to add to our little collection. We received it early in the morning before going to school, and right away he was hooked on the design. So much that he took the book with him in the car and to school. He wanted to show it to his teacher. Since then, we have read the story almost every night, to the point that he finishes the sentences for me. My son doesn't like all books, and I realized that to be a bestseller in his heart, he needs to see great graphics and to listen to an inspiring story. This one has it all, and it is definitely a hit in our house. It just warms my heart to hear that little child's story, and that children all over the world are beginning to share my book with their parents. I just wanted to remind you to never give up on your dreams. This is a story I wrote as a teen and now just put out. Another one of my dreams is a project that I'm just working on right now, which is my first anthology book. This project is very close to my heart, as it will showcase women from all over the world, sharing their stories of overcome and struggle. This is a shout out to all of you valued listeners to be a part of this project by sharing your stories. There are 29 spots in this book, and I would love for your inspiring story to be a part of it. Connect with me via email at contact@christyleetritz.com to learn more about this amazing opportunity. And now introducing today's guest, Jalon Ekholm. She's a mom, MS warrior, and pole climber. 15 years ago, Jalon left life trudged along like a well-oiled locomotive, each day following the next track she had carefully mapped out in her mind. Her career in the Air Force was going well. She served at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in communications. Top secret messages traveled through her hands on the way to military and civilian recipients. The job also entailed climbing through sewers and manholes, tracing cables, and checking for security breaches. However, in Christmas 2007, she woke up one morning seeing everything in double. She staggered into the walls of her home constantly. Half her face went numb, her hands and feet had been going numb for some time. She was having massive back pain and difficulty swallowing. For the next few years, Jalon would experience episodes, but they always cleared. Then one day she could no longer perform the simple task of handwriting. Her back hurt, her words slurred. Another MRI test showed lesions on her brain, lesions that had been missed in an earlier test. Her doctor confirmed the news. Jalon had had multiple sclerosis for several years, and her condition was likely worsening. And now I'd like to welcome Jalon to the show. Welcome, Jalon.
Hi. Thank you, Christy. That was a very nice write-up.
You're very welcome.
Glad to be here.
So I just wanted to start off with maybe asking you, what is it like going through that journey, and what are some of the things that you struggled with going through that journey in the beginning?
Oh, gosh. Well, when I when I woke up that morning and saw everything double, and my hands and feet were numb, and I was bouncing into walls and having difficulty swallowing it. It happened so quickly that I honestly thought I had a stroke. And but over time, after seeing doctors and it being considered unconclusive, it went away. And but it kept coming back, and I was just terrified. I thought something was really, really wrong with me. I mean, I thought that I was dying. And, it was hard to get a grip on what was going on. So, I was really sad, really devastated. I kind of climbed into a state of depression. And then when it was diagnosed that I did have MS, I was just devastated. It was just horrible.
Yeah. When you used to have those episodes, like, were you fearful that the next one was coming? Did you, what were you thinking after you had that first one?
Yeah, I was really afraid, especially driving, or, I'm a mom, and so I was afraid for my son. I was afraid that something really drastically was wrong with me. I was afraid that, what if I do die? What about my son? What about my husband? What are they going to do? So I was constantly thinking of that, and I was worried about the next episode, worried about these weird things that were happening to me, and wondering why doctors couldn't give me a conclusive answer as to why these things were happening or what a solution would be for me.
Mm-hmm. What was the most difficult part about, being with those doctors and them not knowing what it was? What was the most difficult part of that?
Well, I had always been really healthy, really independent, and really strong. I mean, I was in the Air Force, and I liked to do a lot of active things, and all of a sudden I couldn't. And being with these doctors was kind of a brand new experience for me, because I hadn't really seen doctors too often in the past, only for, just little kid stuff. And so it was overwhelming, because I had to all of a sudden learn how to advocate for myself. And and during this time I had a lot of confusion going on. That was one of my symptoms. And so if someone would be talking to me while I was listening to what a doctor was saying or trying to focus on something, I would totally forget everything that was said to me, or everything I had read. And so I had to I had to actually place a lot of this into either my husband's hands or my mother-in-law's hands. And thank God for them. I mean, they've been just wonderful through all of this. They've been the best support, and they've really helped me get a handle on this. They've been there to advocate for me.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. It's just like, I know you said your son has Asperger's syndrome, correct?
Correct, yep.
And so it's like that. Now you had to advocate not only for your son, but you had to advocate for yourself. That must have been really difficult.
Yeah, and I was surprised it was much easier advocating for my son. And of course, a lot of moms know you do anything for your kids. And I was right in there with my son, and helping him navigate how to fit in properly and how to overcome certain things. And then all of a sudden I had this illness, and I forgot exactly what I was supposed to do. I'm like, well, how do you advocate for someone? How do you advocate for yourself? So, but it was a learning experience.
So when it comes to advocating for yourself, what are a few things that you can tell our listeners if they're struggling with a medical illness about advocating for themselves?
Well, I would say, I did a lot of research, and research not in the same way people would think. I didn't go on WebMD, because, of course, if you go on WebMD, you're going to diagnose yourself with something that you think is going to kill you.
And a lot of other things that are going to go along with it. You're like, oh, I have that too.
Exactly. And so I researched the things that would best work with my health. Well, actually, more so before even researching, I realized what was happening with me. I was in a deep state of depression. I mean, I did not even want to hear the word MS spoken around me when I was first diagnosed. I remember my husband watching a movie on TV, and one of the characters was talking about his mother with MS that had passed away. I actually plugged my ears and went into my bedroom and closed the door because I did not even want to hear about someone with MS. I didn't want to hear about what could possibly happen to me. And so I realized I was in depression. And so it took me a while to get out of that depression and realize I wasn't going to die, at least not that day. I wasn't going to die. And so I had a choice to make. I could decide to either lay down and let this happen to me, or I could learn how to overcome. And that's a lot of my personality is I'm very positive, upbeat. I'm like the cheer in your Cheerios. And so
I love that.
I'm the fruit in your Fruit Loops. But, so I said, okay, let's figure out some ways to fight back. I want to feel better. And it's amazing what feeling bad will make you do to feel good. And so I started researching different things that would help me feel better. And one of those things was diet. And so I learned that certain things that I was eating was absolutely not helping the way I felt. I mean, for instance, sugar gives me horrible backaches, horrible pain, so I don't eat sugar. I stick to a lot of fruits and vegetables. If you look up, I can't remember what the doctor's name is. It's Dr. Wahls, Wahls. She had MS. She was in a tilt recline wheelchair, and she had progressive MS. She was on her way to death, and she learned about which foods to eat that would make her body feel better. Well, she started eating these foods and exercising as she could, and within a year, she rode an 18-mile bike ride. And so,
wow.
I know, I read that and I was like, wow, that's fantastic. So, and I thought, gosh, if she could do that, I can do that. And for myself, and I know this isn't for other people, I am against pharmaceutical medication in myself. And so I didn't want to go to the pharmaceutical route. And so I wanted to go the holistic route. And I believe that food is medicine. I mean, God put food on this earth, and it has all the nutrients that we need in it. So those nutrients can heal me. And so I started following Dr. Wahls' diet, and it's a lot of the paleo diet, if you've ever heard of the paleo diet. And so,
actually I have heard of the paleo diet.
Have you? It's a lot of no gluten, no casein, which is no wheat, no dairy, no sugar. And so I started doing vegetables and a lot of fish. The omega-3 fatty acids in fish are great for you. And D3 vitamin supplements amongst several other supplements. So after I started doing that, I started feeling better. And I was like, wow, MS, I really think I have control of this a little bit better. I mean, I know it's not perfect, but, I feel a lot better. And I learned that I'm also inspiring other people with what I'm doing. So
when it came to your diet, because that's usually like a lot of people have a hard time changing that, what are some steps that they can take in the beginning to start that process of change? And how was it for you going through, maybe like that sugar withdrawal and all those kinds of things? What's some areas of advice you can give in that way?
Well, for advice, I guess, my personality, I'm a all or nothing type of person. I just dove right into it, like cold turkey. But that does not work for everyone. I understand that. So what I would say is find something that is not that you could live without, and start eliminating that from your diet. So since I know that gluten will affect me adversely. I know that casein, which dairy, will affect me, sugar. So I started I would tell to others, start eliminating some of those things and start adding certain things that you think would be beneficial. Or so like fish. Fish is a really pretty simple thing to add to your diet. At least twice a week, eat some fish. Kale is a really, really, like a miracle food. And so, get a can of kale, and cook it up for dinner one night and plug your nose and choke it down. I know that some people don't like it. I've learned to like certain things that I wouldn't normally like it before, but I've learned that if it makes me feel good, I'm going to eat it, and so I'm going to like it.
And one thing with kale that I have found, because I have a son who has ADHD, and he hates anything that's like the word vegetable. Okay. And so what I've done is I've taken like a blender or something, and I'll put it into it, and then you blend it and add it to like soups and stuff, so I just get fresh stuff. Or I'll add it to like salad or whatever.
Yeah, you just hide it. I have a NutriBullet that is probably one of the best things I have ever bought, and it's a juicer more or less. So I just shove a bunch of vegetables in there, put in some water, blend it all up together, and I drink it. And it makes it easy because if there's stuff in there like beets. I don't like beets, but I eat beets because, gosh, they are great because I had urinary issues, and they are great for the urinary tract. And so, anyway, if you blend them up with some strawberries and bananas, they don't taste that bad.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same thing. I have a magic bullet, and that's what I do. People say, how do you get vegetables into your kid if you never eat them? I'm like, he just doesn't know he's getting them.
I know, don't you love that? I have a 17, like you were saying, my son with Asperger's, he's 17, and before he is like any other typical teenager. He loves Pringles and pop and all that good stuff. Well, he was seeing me eat healthy, and I would tell him, don't touch my stuff because there's only certain things I can eat. Well, all of a sudden, he really wanted all that stuff.
Because he couldn't have it.
I know. And so I thought, hey, this is kind of perfect. I mean, he's being healthy. He's feeling naughty because he's taking my stuff. But actually, it's kind of reverse psychology.
Exactly. That's awesome. You're like, ha ha ha, in the background. I got you to eat them. That's so awesome. I wonder if that would work for like a lot of other kids. Sometimes we don't think about that with our kids, hey?
Yeah, I bet you would.
And it's kind of funny that we say, our teens like all that good kind of food, when technically that food is not the good food.
No, it's not anything processed. If I cannot read the ingredients, and I do this for myself, I try to do this for my son and my husband. It's difficult because they're not me, and so if I cannot read the ingredients on the back of the package, I don't eat it. I don't buy it for myself, and so it makes it pretty easy, but pretty limited when I go to the grocery store. I mean, I have to stick basically to produce, or else the fresh meat, the butcher stuff. So, but yeah, I would get them on board eventually.
Well, you found how it works, right? You just have to say, don't touch, and then they're like, I really want.
Exactly. There's certain foods that I do make that are in the paleo diet that are pretty good, like sweet potato chips. I do a lot of dehydrated vegetables. Taste just like chips, and my son likes those, and squash seeds, kind of like pumpkin seeds. I roast those, and my son likes those. My husband, he'll eat those once in a while.
That sounds good, though.
Yeah.
You're making my mouth water.
I'll have to send you some recipes.
That would be awesome. Actually, on my whole health page, every Monday I post a recipe. So people share their recipes with me, and then I post one each Monday, a different recipe. And it's kind of funny because a lot of them follow the paleo way.
Oh.
A lot of the recipes seem to be that, hey, this is something that almost everyone can eat. Once in a while, I have to put like one of those things that looks like a delicious treat, but really it's a secret delicious treat that doesn't have all the really undelicious stuff you shouldn't have in it.
Right. Yeah, you just fool them. Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I'll send you some recipes and some of my favorites. I do have some favorites.
So, what are some of the strategies that you're using now, and as you're overcoming your disease? I know that you did some kind of pole climbing thing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I did. Back in November, my brother told me about the seminars. It's called Sci Seminars, and it's out in California, and it's strategies for life success. So I went out and I participated in a 3-day conference, and it taught me immense things about life, more or less. And so the next course was called Sci 7. And so I flew back out to California and participated in a course for a whole week. And they had a combination of classroom activities and outside activities, and that's where I climbed the pole. I actually climbed, I believe it was either 30 or 40 foot, a telephone pole, and I stood on top of it. And so, in each of the activities signifies something, and the pole signified commitment, like what are you committed to? And so, part of it was a challenge for me because I just wanted to see if I could still do this due to my MS. Mm-hmm. And so I got up to the pole. It was my turn, and since I had an illness, I could choose out of the activity if I wanted. But it was very, very important for me to participate in each activity. And so when it was my turn, I got up to the pole and I looked up at it and I said, I am climbing this pole. But if anyone knows me, they know I'm a very tenacious and determined person. And so I grabbed hold of that pole. I actually climbed all the way to the top of it. And then up at the top, there's a spinning disc that is it spins if you touch it. And it's about 10 inches around. So if you grab it, it spins. It's on a screw and it'll spin. And so I had to figure out how to get on top of that. And for anyone listening, they're wondering, oh my gosh, is she crazy? I did have on a harness, so it was completely safe. I was attached to ropes, so in case I fell.
That's good.
Yeah. So I grabbed hold of that disc and I looked down and I had lots and lots of support down on the ground. I had friends there. I mean, we all made friends. We were united. And so they were hollering up at me, and they kept telling me, well, you're a superstar. You're awesome. You can do this. Look, you just climbed a 30-foot telephone pole, which anyone else, that would be really, really difficult. But for someone with MS, and those people listening with MS, no, that's like climbing Kilimanjaro. That's like climbing a big mountain. So I was like, yeah, I am kind of awesome. I did get all the way up here. I can stand on top of this disc. So I grabbed hold of it and I hefted my feet up on top and slowly stood up, and I got halfway up and I fell, which was great. I mean, at first I was disappointed I didn't stand all the way up, but then I realized, oh my gosh, I got all the way up here and I stood on top of this disc. Mm-hmm. Wow, holy cow, that's great, So, but anyway, after that seminar, which I learned so much more about myself and about life, I mean, it's more than just positive thinking. It's just, it's learning a lot about different strategies to use to overcome different programs, different limiting beliefs that you have, or that I had, So after that, I wanted to continue my training. And so in November, I raised money to go back out to California to attend another seminar, which was called Women's Leadership Seminar. And that was just amazingly phenomenal. And it was incredible. And a lot of the activities, I mean, I'm sworn to secrecy on a lot of the activities, but I can tell you that Size 7, it took everything I had learned at Size 7 and exploded it by times at least 500. It was just awesome. So I certainly wouldn't be the same person I am right now without going through those courses.
Do you think you would have done something that kind of way in your life had you not been diagnosed with something that isn't, an illness that a lot of people look at? I just have to do nothing now.
Well, I don't think that I probably would have done something as you have mentioned. My son with Asperger's, I have always been a very big advocate and very big supporter of autism and Asperger's, and so I believe I would still be advocating for him, which I still am, but in a much different way, in a much bigger way. And had I not participated in size strategies for life success, I can tell you that I would not have formed a foundation. My foundation is MS Warrior. I wouldn't have formed that. I would probably still be trundling along, trying to get a grip on exactly how to manage my symptoms. So I probably wouldn't have been doing that.
So tell us a little bit about your MS Warrior. What do you do? What do you want to see for the future for it? Those kinds of things.
Okay, well, MS Warrior, I started MS Warrior back before I went to Women's Leadership Seminar, and I started it as a fundraising platform to help me get to WLS, Women's Leadership. And because I had climbed the big tall pole and, I was inspiring, I figured out, gosh, I have a great story. I'm going to start spreading the story around. I'm going to call it MS Warrior. Well, in doing that, I raised over $7,000 in a little under 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, a little bit more than I needed to pay for my seminar and travel expenses and pay back some seminar money. So anyway, during this 3 months, I had other people with MS or other people with debilitating illnesses contacting me on Facebook or, coming up to me, because I was featured in the newspaper. My MS Warrior story was. And so they were talking to me, and they were really inspired and encouraged by what I've done. And I thought, gosh, this is really cool. I'm not only helping myself, but I'm also inspiring other people to. So that's when I came back from WLS, I made a decision. I had a vision that I wanted to change MS Warrior from a fundraising platform into a foundation that inspires and encourages other people living with MS or debilitating illnesses to step back into their life, to step into their greatness. And so, and by watching me, it's kind of like, walk the walk, others will follow. And so, I think it was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I did another challenge. I did a polar plunge because I know.
It made me have shiver bumps just thinking about it.
Well, my theory is in order to be healthy, I'm going to do what healthy people do, or healthy crazy people. I mean, 'cause not healthy people would do a polar plunge, but it was for us, the Special Olympics, and so it was a good opportunity, good experience for me. And so in doing that, and I wore a costume, MS warrior costume, and so in doing that, it was another way for me to inspire other people to do what I'm doing. I mean, just because someone has been diagnosed with a debilitating illness doesn't mean they can't get up in the morning and smile, or pick up the phone and call someone and bless them with their presence. I mean, that's why we're all put here. You aren't special by what you do. You're special by who you are, whether you have an illness or not.
Right. That's powerful there.
Yeah.
A lot of us try and strive for what we do rather than who we are, and sharing that with people.
Exactly. So, but that's kind of the roots of my foundation. Like I said, it's pretty much in its infancy. So right now I'm working on growing it, but I am on Facebook. It's MS Warrior on Facebook, and I do have a website. It's mswarrior.net. So, and I do blog about certain things and keep a very positive outlook on life. That's very important to me, to look at everything. I tend to look at the world through rose-colored glasses instead of poop-colored glasses. So.
Well, I think that's definitely better. As long as they're clear rose-colored glasses, you know?
Yes, I mean, it works for me, and I'm seeing that it works for other people too. My energy tends to be contagious. I'm finding that out.
I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So how about we talk a little bit about your son and Asperger's syndrome, and what for some of our listeners, they may not even know what Asperger's is. Sure. Or what that means to your family when somebody in your family has that. Can you share about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, when my son was real little, well, even when he was born, he wasn't the kind of kid you could just hand around to other people. He would get overstimulated, which that Asperger's is basically another way to say high-functioning autism. Well, kids with autism, they tend to get overwhelmed by sensory experiences, like the lights are too bright or the sound is too loud. Even if it's normal to us, it's too much for them. And so we would end up having to put him in his stroller and cover it up with a blanket. And so as he got older and started interacting with other kids, we started noticing a real hallmark trait of Asperger's is social interaction. A lot of kids have a difficult time interacting with each other socially, and so he doesn't observe certain social rules, and so anyway, I would start working with him. I start explaining, playing games with him, telling him, okay, well, to interact with this person, this isn't nice, or this is nice, and he would start getting it. And so it made things better. And he's very tenacious like me, and so he's very much like his mother, and so he really excelled, really wanted to overcome certain things, and wanted friends, and so he's the biggest thing that happened to him is when he made a friend in 8th grade with a kid that was called, he would be known as neurotypical, which is another way to say what other people would say normal, not Asperger's. And so he made a friend in 8th grade who more or less taught him how to be a typical boy, how to fit in with social terms, so that's made a big difference. me working with him has made a big difference. I actually worked at the middle school during his 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years because I wanted to be able to talk to the teachers and to see what was going on with him. I mean, it's kind of the control freak syndrome in me, but
or some would call it the loving mom.
I know. So, but I'm glad I did. It was a good experience. I got to talk to his teachers, and I would see him try to interact with other kids, and at times it was painful because he didn't know the proper ways to interact with them or to socialize, where other kids were having sleepovers and, going to hang out with friends, he wasn't. And so I thought, you know what, there has got to be a way to get him included. And so I worked with him and I worked with the other kids, and he made connections with certain friends, certain people at school, and then he found his one connection, and it's a boy that has a lot of empathy, and so they made really good friends, and he basically taught him, like I said, how to be a typical boy, how to go out and poke frogs and, play in the mud and be okay with that, and I thought, gosh, this is fantastic. So now that he's 17, honestly, if you were to sit with him, you probably couldn't, you might be able to tell that he was a little bit different, but he's not much different from any other teenage boy that you meet on the street. But when he was little, when he was 3 and 4 years old, he would go around slapping his hands. And that's a trademark, a hallmark trait of someone with autism. He would cover his ears, like in the public restrooms, because the toilets were too loud if he flushed them. He didn't like to go to the grocery store because the lights were too bright or he could hear them, and constant temper tantrums. And it was difficult for me and my husband because we didn't know what was going on with my son until like the year before the summer before his 4th grade or 5th grade year. We finally pinpointed what exactly was the problem. So we had several years thinking that this kid's just being difficult, So, but, I guess we just kind of went with it. That's the best way I can explain it. We just kind of went with it, and I knew that I couldn't bring my son into my world, make him be, it's like kind of like having an alien from a different planet. Mm-hmm. If you want to interact with him, well, you better learn how to speak his language rather than making him speak yours. And so that's what I did. I went down to my son's level. I started seeing things through his eyes. And, he would talk endlessly about inventions. He loved inventions or, choo-choo trains or, if that's what he was into, that's what I got into too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's true, like, you wouldn't go to, say, like, I don't know, someplace where they only speak Spanish, for example, and you being the only person speaking English, and expect the entire country to start speaking English.
Yeah.
You would have to learn their language. You would have to learn their customs and the way they do things and what things mean and where they are and all of that. And that's the same thing with our kids. Like, we need to learn that they're all individuals. They're all different. Right. They don't fit into this mold of a child should be XYZ. And right. Yeah, it's very important. I'm so proud of you for doing that for your son. That's an amazing thing that he gets to be a part of.
Oh, thank you. I'm so proud of him. I'm just looking at, he made me this note after I stopped working at the middle school. I stopped working with him because you have to cut the apron strings eventually, And so he made me this note, and I hung it on my wall. It said, "Thank you for being in school with me for so long and dealing with some of the worst kids because just for me, I love you. You're the best." And that just,
how sweet.
that just speaks loads to me because, I mean, he really got it. And he knew that if he didn't have anyone on his side in school, if none of the kids were on his side, he always knew that mom and dad would be. We understood him, you know. I mean, he was free to be himself at home. And when he went out of our house to school, I mean, they expect a certain behavior. And so when he wouldn't give that behavior because he didn't know how, he knew if he told me, I would help him navigate. Yeah, I would help him understand exactly what to do or exactly how to be. Or I would talk to the school and say, hey, give him a break.
Right. So when you were diagnosed then with MS, how did you take all that stuff that you learned and all of that and put it towards now, you know, because now here you were suffering with something, and what was the relationship like then? How did that kind of sort of bring you to a place where now you became strong in a different way?
Well, I mean, after I, like I said, realized I wasn't going to die, I have this, I don't know, I guess I'm very tenacious, very determined, very persistent, and very optimistic. And so I realized that, you know what, I don't have mom here advocating for me, which I do. Yeah. I mean, my mother, she advocates more than she probably needs to. And she loves me. She loves me. I understand. She means well. But I'm very independent, very persistent. Yeah. And so I realized that if someone's going to make a change in my life, it's going to have to be me. And once I realized that, I started, hold on one second. I started getting, I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I apologize. So once I realized that I had to advocate for myself, I started really pulling up my boots and doing that for myself. And I started stepping into my greatness, more or less. Stepping into what I had to do for myself. And I remembered what I had done for my son, and it started working for me. I really hit home that, hey, I can advocate for my son, and I have a big voice. I can do this for myself.
Mm. And here you are now helping to advocate for other people who are suffering with illness.
True. And, you know, I mean, that's a big part of it. I want to be that inspiration to other people. I want to help, and I want to give back to other people. I want people to know that, I want people to look at me and say, you know what, because of you, because of what you've done, and because of who you are, I believe in me. I believe I can be like this too. I will not give up today because you've shown me the right way. Mm-hmm. You've shown me how to pull myself up.
Yeah. And that's important to have other people surrounding you that are feeding you that too, because there's times when you're strong and there's other times when you're like, I just don't want to do this today. And that's when it becomes so important that you have those connections around you, and you know where you can go to, you know who you can go to, because those are the people that are going to build you up on those days when it's most difficult.
True. And like I said, my mother is a huge advocate for me, a huge supporter of me. My husband, he's another really, really big support for me. My mother-in-law, she's wonderful. She's been on board with me and helped me from the very beginning. I mean, if I did not have such a big support system, such a big so many people that care about me, it would be very difficult for me to be upbeat, be the same person I am.
And that goes to show you what you surround yourself with is what eventually becomes part of you.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you about your future plans. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in the future of your foundation and all of those things that you're taking those dreams and making them come true? What are some things that we can look forward to in the future?
Well, I'm looking forward to growing my MS Warrior Foundation into something much larger than what it is, something that helps many people step back into life and into their greatness. I'm also looking forward to continuing my self-development through Psi seminars or through other seminars. I'm looking forward to, I had mentioned to you before, that I am interested in writing a book about my journey, about my experiences, about what I have to give back to other people. So I'd like to do that. I have many plans, but I'd like to go on vacation with my husband and my son. Before I do any of this, that would be
Yeah, that's the truth. You need a vacation before you really, take your life by the horns and say, okay, let's go and do all this stuff that I really want to do.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing. When you start living your dreams and you start seeing the impact that it is having on other people, I can't even explain to you the emotion that it brings up within you, and just knowing that no matter how much of a struggle your story is, you can take that story and you can make a difference with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I'm very excited for my future.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be one of those futures you just want to watch.
Yeah. Well, hope so.
It doesn't have to be like reality TV. This is real.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's the MS Society out there and other MS foundations. What makes my foundation different from others is that I don't want to talk about being sick. I want to talk about being well. I mean, a lot of people, they can hear I do still have certain symptoms, like, for instance, slurring my words is huge. It's not as horrible as it used to be, but it still is prevalent. But nonetheless, I'm not going to let that hold me back from talking to people and from inspiring people. And I want people to know that, okay, MS Warrior stands for adventure. It stands for courage. It stands for bravery. That's what I want to give to people. That's what I want them to. And it's not, I don't want people to believe in MS Warrior or believe in me, which, I do, but I want them to know that inevitably it's belief in themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen is they're going to start believing in themselves, and they're going to get healthier and healthier and start giving back to society.
It's amazing that you mentioned that, because I don't know if I read something, but it said all it takes is one person to believe in you.
Yeah.
And when that one person shows that they believe in you and they believe that your journey is going to go somewhere, soon you start to take that on and you start to believe in yourself. And it's almost like a rotating door. All of a sudden, one person goes in not believing, and they come out believing, and then they keep going through other people and helping them to believe in themselves. And all it takes is one person to create that change.
I know, isn't that fantastic? We're all connected. I see that. One to one to 1 to 3. We're all connected. It only takes one person to decide that I'm going to be that person.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of your thoughts. Just change your mind, change your thinking, you change your life.
Right, and it helps when there's people around you that are, already at that point where they've gotten to that point of changing their thoughts and changing their life. And now here they are standing in front of you, proof that if you make that decision to move forward and no longer stay stuck, and no longer have your voice silenced, that the change really happens. And it happens most in you. But you'll also see the change happen in those people who helped you get to that point, too.
True. It's like a big awareness. I mean, once that switch is clicked, it's just incredible, because everyone we're raised to have limiting beliefs. That's like, why do I believe that or why does someone believe that, oh, well, I'm not going to wear my hair like this because I look ugly? What I mean? Yeah. Well, it's a belief that somewhere along time you just got. Well, it doesn't mean it's true. A belief is only a thought that you keep thinking. You can change your mind anytime you want. Okay, so I could wear my hair all spiked in purple, and I could think it looks fantastic because I decided that looks fantastic. Exactly. It's just a matter of changing your mind.
Yeah, and that's totally true. A lot of times, we allow people to reflect to us who we are, rather than actually knowing who we really are.
Yep, exactly. We were not born with all of these limiting beliefs. We were born perfect. We were born flawless. We learned all of these things as we grew. I mean, if we think that life is hard, well, that's why it's hard, is because we think it is. The way you think predicts how your life is. It shapes your life. If I think life's easy, life's great, life's fantastic, that shapes my life too. That creates my life.
It's like, you can probably identify with this one. If your kid or your husband is really grumpy that day, and you're like super chipper happy, and all of a sudden the grumpiness starts to take over you, and you're like, what the heck?
Yes, negative. That's why I try to remain positive, because negativity is so infectious, and I have this thought that that's where a lot of my health issues come from, and dwelling on negative things. I mean, worrying about things, and so that's why I try to remain positive. I don't watch the news. I know there are a lot of people out there like, oh my gosh, you don't watch the news? Nope, I don't watch the news because I don't want the negativity in my mind, in my head. And so I don't like my Facebook. I clear out anything that's going to be negative or nasty. I get rid of it, and I have mostly all positive, inspirational posts, or I talk to positive, inspirational people, because like you said, I mean, the people that you surround yourself, that dictates a lot how you are. Yeah. So if I surround myself by a lot of negative people, a lot of negative ninnies, that's probably how I'm going to be. And so I prefer positivity. I like being upbeat.
It's like catching chicken pox.
Yeah.
Except for their negative pox.
Exactly.
And I totally hear you with the whole Facebook thing and everything. Because a lot of people spend a lot of time on social media. And if you're spending a lot of time and you're surrounded with that negative material all the time, that's not really beneficial.
Right. It's not. I mean, all you're doing is poisoning yourself, really. What is it benefiting? If you really ask yourself, based on results in your life, what is what you're surrounding yourself with, how is that benefiting you? And if it's not, get rid of it. Replace it with something that will benefit you.
And sometimes it takes not necessarily like getting rid of it at that moment, but learning to search out people who will feed you that positivity so that you can become strong enough to now say, I'm not going to let this person in my life, or I'm not going to let this material in my life, or whatever the case may be, or the stinking thinking, And having those positive people there helps you to reinforce that decision that this is on an amazing path that I'm going to go on. And yes, it's a journey, and just like every journey, it has its ups and downs.
Yep, I agree. Well, and two, if you start looking for positive experiences or surrounding yourself with more positive things in your life, it's law of attraction. So you put out what you want. You know, if you're putting out positivity, if you're looking for it, that's what's going to come to you. And positivity is attracted to you just the same way as negativity is attracted to you. If you're constantly thinking negative or putting out there negative things, that's what's attracted to you as well. And so I don't want to attract negativity. I don't want nasty things in my life. So I'm going to try to attract positive things and great things.
Exactly. So I just want to recap with you.
Sure.
I want you to give our listeners your information again, where they can get a hold of you, and all that information.
Okay. My foundation is on Facebook, and it's facebook.com/MS Warrior. And I have a website. It's www.mswarrior.net. And, of course, my normal Facebook page. I'm a very friendly person. I will, as long as you're not a serial killer, I will pretty much add you. So if you look up Jalon Ekholm on Facebook, you will find me. So go ahead and get in touch with me. I love new friends.
And we love having you, too.
Well, thank you so much.
I have to say, I want to thank you so much for being part of this show, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us and inspire us and give us that encouragement that, even if you're living with an illness, it's not a death sentence. It just means you get to change the way your life path is going to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Christy, for having me on the show. This has been a really wonderful opportunity. I was just telling my friends that Facebook is just the most amazing thing. I had a friend who put me in contact with you, and here, before I know it, I'm on the radio. This is fantastic.
It's been fantastic having you on a Women's Voice Empowerment Radio, too.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
And I'm sure we will have you on again, because as you travel through your journey, I know there's going to be more things that are going to come up, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And so now, viewers, I just wanted to not forget to mention to you to check us up on ChristyLeeTritz.com, and you'll be able to see all of the exciting things that we are doing, not only with the radio show, but also with that anthology book that we were talking about in the beginning. Remember that the project is going to be showcasing you and your stories that are from your heart, to help change and heal other women in the world. And this is just the beginning. So keep staying tuned to the show every Thursday, 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I can't wait till you see what we have next week for you.
Thank you for joining Christy Lee and her guests on the show today. Tune in to A Woman's Voice Empowerment Radio every Thursday at 1 Mountain Standard Time. This station is made possible by generous donations made by our listeners. To donate, please visit ChristyLeeTritz.com and keep helping us share women's voices. Have a blessed day full of inspiration.